Yuriyan Retriever. I'm 34 years old, and I was on America's Got Talent Season 14.
The America's Got Talent stage has seen just about everything. It's a place where dreams are born, singers shatter glass, and magicians seem to bend the laws of physics. But what happens when an act shows up that doesn't defy logic or physics, but reality itself? What happens when a performer walks onto that famous stage, and proceeds to do absolutely nothing? And yet, that very nothingness somehow becomes one of the most unforgettable, baffling, and brilliant moments the show has ever seen. A comedian was once sent packing from this very stage, her dreams crushed by the buzzers. In 2025, she came back, not with a new joke, but with a new philosophy, an act so bizarre it completely broke the judges' brains and left Simon Cowell, the man who has seen it all, speechless. This is the story of a performance with no props, no music, and no obvious point, that still managed to captivate millions. This is the story of the Air Hamster Show. To really get the sheer audacity of the Air Hamster Show, you first have to understand the woman at its center, Yuriyan Retriever. And to do that, you have to rewind to 2019, to season 14 of America's Got Talent. Back then, a younger Yuriyan stepped on stage as a dancer. What followed was a whirlwind of flailing limbs and funny poses set to music. It was quirky, it was weird, and some people found it genuinely funny. But for the judges, especially Simon Cowell, it was just a mess. The performance was a piece of physical comedy, but the nuance was pretty much lost. Simon, with his famous impatience for acts he doesn't get, slammed his red buzzer and cut her short. It was a swift, brutal rejection on a global stage. For most performers, that would have been the end of it. A humiliating moment, a flight home, and a clip destined for a Craziest Auditions YouTube compilation, but Yuriyan Retriever isn't most performers. While her American dream seemed to die on that stage, her career back home in Japan was absolutely blowing up. She wasn't just some quirky comedian, she was a comedic force. She won the R1 Grand Prix, one of the biggest awards for a solo comedian in Japan. She became a household name, a beloved TV personality. She even landed the lead role in a major Netflix Japan production, The Queen of Villains. The woman was a star, loved by fans and validated by her industry. She had nothing left to prove to anybody. So why come back? Why return to the exact stage where she was so publicly shot down? Most people with her level of success would never risk a second public humiliation. But that's what makes her story so incredible. Her return in 2025 for season 20 wasn't just about getting a different result, it was a statement. This was an artist who had sharpened her craft, owned her unique comedic identity, and was no longer asking for America's approval. She was challenging America to get her. She said she wanted to crack the code of American humor, not by changing her style, but by pushing it to its most extreme, unapologetic limit. This wasn't a second chance, it was a comedic reckoning. She was bringing an act so pure in its absurdity that it would force the judges to question what talent even means. The lights come up. Terry Crews announces her name, and a ripple of recognition mixed with confusion goes through the crowd. Some people remember the odd dancer from years ago. The judges definitely remember her. Howie Mandel, a fan of all things strange, has a grin on his face. Simon Cowell just looks skeptical and tired, like a man bracing himself for disappointment. Yuriyan walks out, not with the chaotic energy of her first audition, but with a strange, quiet calm. She's wearing a simple outfit. There are no props. No background. Just her. "Hello," Terry says, "welcome back to America's Got Talent. The judges remember you." Yuriyan gives a polite bow. "Yes. I remember Simon," she says, completely deadpan, getting a nervous laugh from the audience. The camera cuts to Simon, who almost cracks a smile. He remembers, too. "So, Howie starts, unable to hide his curiosity. Last time you were a dancer. What are you going to be doing for us today? What have you brought? This is the moment. Yuriyan looks at the judges, takes a deep breath, and says with the utmost seriousness, "Tonight, I will be performing, with my hamster." A beat of silence. The audience looks around. The judges scan the empty stage. There's no hamster. No cage. Nothing. Sofia Vergara leans into her mic. Okay, where is the hamster? Is he going to come out? Yuriyan slowly shakes her head. No. He is already here. She holds up her empty, cupped hands. This, she announces to the silent theater, is the Air Hamster Show. The silence that follows is deafening. Is this the joke? Is she serious? The camera zooms in on Simon Cowell's face. The skepticism is gone, replaced by pure, unfiltered bewilderment. He looks at his fellow judges, as if to ask, is anyone else seeing this? Howie Mandel, on the other hand, is starting to shake with laughter. He gets that there's something to get, and he's ready for it. Mel B just looks baffled, trying to figure out what is happening. He is not invisible, Yuriyan corrects him, her tone firm, as if explaining a basic law of science. He is air. An air hamster. With that one bizarre statement, the stage was set. Yuriyan Retriever wasn't just doing a comedy routine, she was conducting a hilarious experiment in collective belief, with a theater of 5,000 people, and millions watching at home, as her subjects. The tension was no longer about whether the act would be good or bad. The tension was about what on earth was going to happen next. Yuriyan takes her spot center stage. She gently places her cupped hands on the floor, as if setting down a priceless, tiny creature. She looks up at the judges, her face a mask of intense focus. The show has begun. For a solid 10 seconds, she does nothing. She just stares at the spot on the floor where the air hamster, let's call him Kiko, for our own sanity, now resides. The audience murmurs nervously. The camera cuts to Simon, who's already rubbing his temples. Then, with incredible delicacy, Yuriyan mimes opening a tiny cage door. She reaches in and gently coaxes Kiko the air hamster out. She cradles him in her hands, her eyes filled with a tenderness that is both hysterical and shockingly convincing. She strokes his back with one finger, her head tilting as if listening to his tiny, silent squeaks. Of course, Howie Mandel is the first one to go. A huge guffaw erupts from the judge's table. He throws his head back in a deep, joyful belly laugh. His laughter starts to spread, and the audience, at first confused, starts to giggle along. They aren't totally sure what they're laughing at, the absurdity of it all, Howie's reaction, or Yuriyan's incredible commitment, but the ice is broken, now for the first trick. Yuriyan holds up a single, invisible sunflower seed. She offers it to Kiko, and her eyes follow the hamster as he takes it and nibbles on it. The detail is mesmerizing. Her fingers twitch, reacting to the phantom weight of the creature. She isn't just pretending, she's living in a reality where this hamster is real, and she's pulling everyone in with her. Mel B, who had been watching with a stern frown, suddenly leans forward. The camera catches a flicker of something in her eyes. Is it annoyance, or is it grudging respect? The act gets bigger. Yuriyan sets up an invisible hamster wheel. Her hands trace a circle in the air, and she mimes placing Kiko on it. And then, the magic happens. Yuriyan starts making a soft, rapid, pitter-patter sound with her mouth, her eyes darting back and forth as if watching Kiko run at full speed. The sound is so childish and ridiculous, and it's the only sound in the theater besides the growing laughter. The audience is fully on board now. They see the hamster. They hear the wheel. Sofia Vergara is covering her mouth, half laughing, half stunned. She keeps glancing at the other judges, her face perfectly mirroring the audience's journey from what to wow. But it's not over. This is where the act goes from mime to performance art. She announces the high dive. She mimes picking up Kiko and climbing an invisible, towering ladder. At the top, she holds Kiko over a thimbleful of water. She gives a dramatic countdown with her fingers. 3, 2, 1. She drops the air hamster. Her eyes follow his fall, and a tiny plink from her mouth signals his landing. The audience erupts in a mix of laughter and applause. She has them in the palm of her hand, a hand that supposedly holds a tiny, wet, air hamster. Simon Cowell hasn't moved a muscle. He hasn't laughed or smiled. He's watching with a scary intensity, trying to deconstruct it, to find the trick. But there is no trick. And that seems to be what's frustrating him. His whole career is based on judging tangible things, a powerful voice, a slick dance move, a clever illusion. How do you judge air? The climax is a moment of pure chaos. Yuriyan announces Kiko will attempt a tightrope walk from her finger to a microphone stand. As he starts, she mimes a sudden gust of wind. The rope wobbles. Kiko loses his balance. Her face contorts in panic. She lunges to catch him, tumbling to the floor in a heap. She lies there, cradling the terrified air hamster, soothing him with soft noises. It's at this moment that Mel B, who looked like she was about to hit her buzzer, pulls back. A huge grin spreads across her face. She gets it. The commitment is the comedy. The seriousness is the punchline. It's not about a hamster, it's about a performer so fearless she's willing to look ridiculous with a conviction that is its own kind of genius. She starts clapping, slowly at first, then with real enthusiasm. Yuriyan takes a final bow, her face still deadly serious, holding the air hamster up like a trophy. The performance is over. For a good 5 seconds after she bows, the theater is filled with a weird mix of laughter echoes and stunned silence. The audience is processing what they just saw. They went on a journey, a collective delusion led by a master of the absurd. They saw a hamster that wasn't there. And now, they're blinking their way back to reality. The applause that follows is a mix of relief, appreciation, and joyful confusion. The camera holds on the judges. Howie is wiping tears of laughter from his eyes. Sophia is shaking her head with a smile, like she just fell for a charming prank. Melby is clapping and nodding, respecting the sheer nerve of it all, and then there's Simon. His face is a blank slate. He is completely and utterly speechless. He looks at the table. He looks at Yuriyan. He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. He closes it again. This is the victory right here. Yuriyan Retriever, the woman he buzzed off stage, had returned and done something thousands of singers and dancers had failed to do. She completely stumped Simon Cowell. She gave him a piece of art so far outside his frame of reference that he had no way to critique it. Simon takes a sip of water. I don't know what that was, he says quietly. I don't know what I just watched. He looks at Yuriyan, not with anger, but with a kind of tired wonder. In all the years I've been doing this show, I have never seen anything like that. It was unique, he finishes, unable to land on praise or criticism. The word just hangs there, a testament to his total confusion. Now it's Howie's turn. Yuriyan, he says, beaming. I'm a comedian. I've been doing this for over 40 years. And what you did just now was one of the funniest, most brilliant, and bravest things I have ever seen on this stage. The audience roars. Comedy, he goes on, is not just telling jokes. It's a point of view. It's commitment. You, with nothing but your imagination, created a masterpiece of absurdity. I was hysterical from the second you said, Air Hamster. It was genius. Utter genius. Next up is Melby, you know, she says, when you started, my finger was right there. She points to her red X. I was thinking, oh no, what is she doing? I was ready to buzz you. But then, the way you committed, the way you fell on the floor to save that hamster. I got it. The joke is the seriousness. The talent is the commitment. You won me over, I loved it. Sophia is last. I mean, for me, she laughs, I was just so confused. I kept looking for a wire, or a light. You are a very, very funny lady. You made us all believe we were seeing this little hamster. It was insane, but it was also kind of amazing. How he doesn't miss a beat. This is the easiest yes I have given all season. You are exactly what this show needs. It's a definite yes from me. One yes. The crowd goes wild. Melby is next. You completely turned me around. For your bravery and for making me laugh that hard at something so stupid, I have to say yes. 2 yes. The audience is on its feet. All she needs is one more. It all comes down to Simon Cowell. The man she came back to face. The final boss of her AGT journey. He looks at Yuriyan with an expression of respect, but also resignation. I want to say, he starts, that I have a huge amount of respect for you. You came back here after getting a no before, and you came back with an act that was even more you, and you didn't compromise one bit. And I admire that. He pauses. It's the classic Simon Cowell setup. The but is coming. But, he continues, this is a competition. People are singing for their lives, there are acts risking their necks. And I have to ask myself, can I see an Air Hamster act headlining a show in Las Vegas? And the honest answer is, no. The audience groans. Yuriyan, I think you are a brilliant, unique, and very funny person. But as an act for this competition, it's a no from me. And just like that, the dream is over. The vote is tied. She's not advancing. A wave of boos rains down on Simon, but he doesn't flinch. Yuriyan takes the rejection with the same serene grace she showed all night. She bows deeply. No tears, no anger. Just quiet dignity. As she walks off stage, the audience gives her a massive standing ovation. They aren't clapping for a winner. They're clapping for an artist who showed them something they'd never seen before and probably never would again. Backstage, Terry gives her a hug. You had them, he says. You really had them. Yuriyan smiles, a genuine, warm smile. It is okay, she says. Simon still does not understand. But Howie does. That is a victory. And that's the real resolution. Her goal was never really to win America's Got Talent. It was to be understood, even if just by a few. She didn't lose the vote, she won the night.